Good morning.
Sorry, this one is.
Yeah,
I was able to get that to work yesterday. I literally uploaded everything and it was crashing. So I went back to the code and I looked at it. So I remembered that we switched to localhost so we could test. So I still hadn't put in the new API address. So I had to go back, change the API address and resend it again. And it works.
nice.
So it's currently working now. Right
Good.
now, I have my portfolio with GitHub,
Mhm.
but we made a portfolio with React.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I'm trying I created a repository for Portfolio React, but I'm trying to put the files in there. And it tells me something about it's not a GitHub. Some of the files are not GitHub repositories or so I'm not sure if it's because is more of a React and needs something else to it.
And now it's Git will take any kind of files. If you share your screen, we can work on it.
So
Portfolio
this
React.
is the
Okay.
repository that I made.
Mhm.
And then this is the portfolio React where I have to put it in my code. I should find it in Finder, correct?
Yeah. We need to do the initial copy over.
So this is the portfolio old one. The portfolio React is this one.
Oh, Tony.
So these right here, I
Okay.
just have to drag and put them in the desktop.
Well, so yeah, put them into GitHub Desktop, and to make things easy on yourself, just open up a Finder. Yeah, before you drag those anywhere, open up a Finder using GitHub Desktop. Have these two side by side. Show Finder. Yep. Then get these two windows side by side. Exactly.
And put them
Drag
in.
that. Yep. Drag that into there. Perfect. Now, if you go back to here, it's gonna realize that, oh gosh, I got a bunch of new stuff. So there is that would be how you'd move it over.
Okay. All right, let me just. All I have to do is commit that, correct?
Commit, yep. And then if you want GitHub Pages, turn on GitHub Pages through the settings.
So all I have to do, because I already have the domain set up in GitHub Pages, all I have to do is change portfolio to portfolio React.
So if you want to point a domain at it, remember you have to go to Namecheap, point Namecheap at GitHub Pages, and then in
I
settings.
already have one with the domain on it. I just want to change the code.
You just want to change the code. Well, if you
Hold on.
just want to change the code, then we would want to use the old repo.
So let me share again. Hold on. I have my repository for portfolio here. And I have this one set up to the domain.
Okay. You want to take it off of this and move it to the other one?
Yeah.
I see. Go to settings. Do you have pages set up here? Go to settings. On the left, go to pages. Go back up to the top. It's a bar on the side, pages. Yeah. Yep. And then scroll down. So this is not set up with any GitHub pages.
Maybe it's the other one.
This one is the one we worked on in class. Yep. Yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah, this is the one we worked on in class. And if you want to move this domain, we can. In fact, it would be really easy to move this domain because this domain is already pointed at GitHub Pages. So the only changes you would need to make is here in GitHub Pages, you would need to, I think you would need to relinquish this URL, not unpublish. I scroll down. Scroll down. There's like a, yeah, custom domain. So you would remove it from here, and then you would go to the other domain where your React code is and re-add it. And I think that's all you'd have to do.
Remove it from here. I just have to go to my portfolio React.
So, yep, where you just uploaded files to. Click on that tab. Go to settings. Yep, go pages over on the left. Scroll down. Scroll down. Okay, sorry, scroll up a little bit. So GitHub Pages is currently disabled. So change this box to main, I think. Yeah. Save. Scroll down. Custom domain box is there now.
So it's the www.
Well, I don't know if we actually got www working. Just do the regular non-www version. Yep, save. And then since this isn't just vanilla HTML, we need to tell GitHub to use a specific folder to serve the files, right? Because we need that build directory.
Okay.
We need to serve files for that build directory. So scroll up and change here where it says it's being built from the main branch. Change the /root. Yeah, we need to add another folder. Right, we need to add /build. I think the problem is though is that there's not a .build, right? So currently in this repo, if you go show in Finder again, there's not a build over here back behind you. Yep, show in Finder. Yeah, there's public at src. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of Googling because I'm not super familiar with how this works with React. Build folder, create React app, install blah, blah. GitHub pages -d. There's some kind of script that they recommend you use. Oh. Okay. Oh, this is gross. How this is real gross. they don't make it very easy. They kind of want you to do a static file. So it's like, so what we could do is have a folder for your source code, run the build in there, take all the build files, move it to the root. Because GitHub Pages really wants everything to be at root. But unfortunately, when we're working on our code with React, at least, all of those files are sitting at root. There's no index.html at root that gets produced when you run build and it sits in the build folder, but we need index.html to sit at the root. So, so there's like a couple of ways to do it, but none of them look very simple.
If you want, I mean, I could work on this later on. If you want, you could help other people that came for the help.
Yeah, let me send you this link here.
Mhm.
And you can take a look. This is from Create React App's own documentation on what to do with GitHub Pages. So check that out and see what you think. Because I think what this script does is it actually just does exactly what I'm saying. It takes everything I build and it shoves it down at the top of the repo.
Okay.
Hey everybody.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Beautiful snowfall last night, huh?
Snowfall in Syracuse?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Yeah, I in my pajamas outside last night in the dark taking photos. It was great.
Oh, y'all are gonna have snow for a couple of days this week. That looks cool.
Yeah, I'm really having fun with it. Cold. I don't like the cold though. So I'm not here for anything specific. Are you, Brian?
I am, but mine is more so just kind of, it's not like an emergency or like a big error or anything. So if anybody has anything more pressing, they can definitely go before me. But
Well, so let me share what I was hoping to talk about. And it's unfortunate that we didn't get to this in class, because I think this really would have changed some people's lives.
Go back to the baby.
Oh, you want to see my kids?
Yeah.
I've got a 1 and a 2-year-old. They're precious.
Awesome. I'm sure they are.
So I made us all do the really difficult way here, where whenever we want to make a change to the front end, we have to npm run build, delete everything out of S3, re-upload everything to S3, go to CloudFront invalidation. And that's just the front end, right? Like, then there's the back end. The back end is delete node modules, zip, go find it in the upload and deploy. It's a lot of steps. And it's really unfortunate that I didn't get to this section, which is we push it to GitHub and it just does all this automatically. Because remember back in week 6 or 7, that's how we had GitHub Pages working, was we would commit and push and GitHub Pages would just show our portfolio. We could have the same exact thing with S3. It just takes a little bit of work. But arguably it makes things a whole lot faster. And I was hoping to set this up for some folks if they are interested in learning about this. That is all I really have prepared this morning. So maybe we start with what folks have, and then with any remaining time, we could do the automation stuff. That sounds good.
It sounds
Alright,
great. I mean,
All right.
I'd be happy to review any of what we've done in class the last couple of weeks, but that's awesome. That looks great. I'd love to look at that.
Yeah, I mean that definitely works for me. Well, one, I'll start out saying that like I definitely think you did it the best way. Like the way that we learned it before, like even if we didn't get to the automatic stuff, I feel like the process, getting to know that process and everything, like at least me personally, has made me feel a lot more comfortable with like, you know, talking about deploying and stuff like that. So I'm definitely grateful
Cool.
for that. All right. So here's my issue. All right. So I think you remember when we left off last class, my environment was like still spinning up,
Yes.
right? Like, and
We
then
weren't
we ended up
getting
moving on to
logs.
someone else. Yeah. It never spun up like for that whole rest of the night. And it was
Oh.
crazy. I was like just absolutely going crazy because the worst part was it wasn't even making a log. It would like do this thing where like it would like try to spin up. It wouldn't even like connect. And then it would have to spin back to like unwind back to the old deploy. So like every time I would make a change and try to deploy it, it would be like a 20-minute process before I could try again. So like that part got frustrating. So eventually I got it to change to show logs. All right. And so what I did was like I just was comparing like meticulously like the blog backend that did deploy successfully and what I had in uh my capstone backend, right? And like there really wasn't much syntax, there really wasn't much difference. So like I figured the difference had to be configuration. So I took the package.json from the files that you have on GitHub, and that was the biggest difference I saw between my project and that project. Was the package.json was way smaller in that one than in mine. So I don't know why. I just copied that over into my package.json and then it finally logged, right? So that was like a super exciting thing, but it still didn't connect, right? But at least now I got a log. So I was able to look at, you know, the web standard out. Now, so once I got in there, I saw what was making it crash was it was saying that the column name doesn't exist.
Yep.
Right. Like, so it was basically saying like the model that I have for my user, it was saying like, for instance, like first name doesn't exist, but I know that it did because when I ran the function on my local server, like, and took out the table, right. And when it ran, it would create the table in my beekeeper, my local database. So I know that it was creating the column and I know it had the right name, right? So then I knew I could narrow it down to that. So then I was just kind of switching around when I ran the create first user, when I ran the other user, putting the weights in front of stuff. And
No luck.
long story short, I got it to work. So like my server connects, my environment connects. When I click on that really long string at the top, I get my status okay. So it's calling the get from my server, but it still says crashed. It's still, I mean, it doesn't say crashed. It says table first name doesn't exist. And
Let's do it. Let's fix
yeah,
that. I know exactly how to fix that. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's
perfect.
share your screen.
All right,
We ran into this a bunch since the last time we spoke, that we need to make beekeeper connection to our AWS database.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, it's not that you need that in order to keep your app from crashing, but like if your database table gets out of sync, like say you make some changes, add a column, drop a column, that sort of thing, you need some way to also alter the AWS database, or drop the database completely so that when your app stands up and it runs db.sync, it can recreate those schemas from scratch.
Okay. That makes way more sense because if you look at like, and you'll see when you look at my logs now, it starts out saying schema undefined, table undefined, all this stuff is undefined, right? And I'm like, I thought the model is what did that, but okay. So what would be the best screen to share? I have my code for the backend code, and I can pull up
Just
my Amazon stuff.
Give me a desktop, and give me your primary desktop, whatever that is. So any windows that pop up, then we'll see on that screen.
All right. Let's see. Okay, that go through?
Cool. Yep. Can I steal control? I feel like you know as well as I do that the backend code is probably great because you've combed over it with the fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
Let's go hop into AWS and let me help you set up that Beekeeper connection so you can see what's going on with your AWS database. I think I've done one-on-ones with pretty much everybody else. And I think Alpha, you've got a Beekeeper connection to your AWS database, right? Jen, do you also have an AWS a Beekeeper connection to your database?
I actually don't know that, Nathan. Everything worked
when
out
you-
fine when I was in class. Let's see, let me find my Beekeeper.
Brian, can you give me a browser that is?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. I thought the control would like allow you. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. That's perfect. Thank you. All right. I'm just going to go into here in Elastic Beanstalk. You can get to it by going down to configuration where we spin up that database. I'm just looking to go get to where the database is at. This is really just going to redirect me over to RDS, and RDS is the product that manages all the databases. So I'm going to click into it, and then there is a back on connectivity and security. What we're going to do is we're going to open up a pinhole so you can reach from your IP address where you're at, your home router. We're going to open up a pinhole so you can reach it with Beekeeper. So 5432, and then the IP address is going to be your current IP address. Beekeeper. Okay, so that's gonna open up the firewall for the database and allow you to reach it from your computer. I'm gonna open up Beekeeper, and we will. If you can give me that window.
Oh yeah, I got you.
Thank you. Do you mind if I close this?
Yeah, sure.
So you've got your local DB. We're going to add a new one. We're going to make a connection to the AWS database. To get the settings for it, we're going to go back to the AWS database page. Let's see. All right. So we're going to steal this endpoint. This is the endpoint to reach it. And it's going to be here. Looks good. User, we don't know what that is yet. We'll turn on SSL, and back here there is all the settings for what user, what port, all that's on this page here. We're gonna grab. So you called your user main. The DB is EBDB. Do you remember what the password was when you created your?
I do. Put that in. Can I type that in?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, that should be it. And then,
Okay. Run test. It's able to connect. Let's call this your AWS database. Okay, let's open that up. All right. So I'm just gonna wager that you don't care about these tables. Is that
I
cool if we
don't.
delete?
I've been deleting them and starting over like 100 times in the last 20 hours.
Okay. So let's drop. And then that will give the app a chance to recreate all of these using whatever the latest schema is that's committed in your code.
Mhm.
Cool. All right, let's redeploy. And by redeploy, I mean, let's go here and just upload that zip one more time.
You see that deploy number? That's literally like how many times I have deployed. I wanted to keep it there just to like remind me, like it makes it that much more rewarding when it works.
Oh gosh, Latonia, how many deploys have we? 'Cause, 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 'cause did we get up to? I feel like we got up to double digits.
Yeah, a lot.
It really is a grind there at the last little bit where, you know, it's
Yeah.
one little thing after another that
Yes, but like I was saying earlier, it's situations like that that makes me much more comfortable with something as opposed to like a process that it works the first time I do it, and you know what I mean. You don't really get a really intimate understanding, but you know, I'm very familiar with the logs now, more familiar than I would
Good.
like to be, but yeah. All right, so that was probably the quickest that it's ever gone. Okay.
And we'll get into the frustrating things about Elastic Beanstalk. One of the biggest gripes I have is that if the app is crashing, it goes into severe or warn state, right? And when you go into those not ready states, according to AWS, you can't go in and get logs. It like prevents you from getting. It's like,
Yeah.
but that's the one time I need logs the most. Like
that was making it the most frustrating. Once I even got it to show logs, even though it was crashing, you would have thought that like I won the lottery or something. Just the fact that I can see a log and at least know what I'm doing wrong, you know, but just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks is not fun.
No, I definitely hear that. All right, it looks like we're running and we're staying up. Can we I'm just gonna give you back control. Can you show me if like any of the endpoints or maybe the website, if any of those are
Sure. So
more?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I haven't like literally I'm talking as of like maybe late last night is when I first got it to go green for the first time. And so I mean, as far as clicking this, like I said, that's how I had it set up in the server. Was I had it, I think you had like my name is Nathan, but I put status okay in mine. And that's what I was expecting. So I still need to get it hooked up to my front end and everything, but but yeah.
Very nice. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, it feels so good to actually just see it connected and no errors or anything. And I would have definitely not been able to figure that part out. So thank you. Really appreciate that.
I think you were really close. You were just short of, you know, needing to just blow away the database and reconnect it. Like we didn't need to necessarily go and connect to it with Beekeeper and drop tables. Like you could have just destroyed the whole database but I'm sure you would have. I'm sure given enough time, you would have definitely figured that out.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Christy, good morning.
Good morning. So I am trying to do my portfolio the same way that I did the capstone yesterday with you. And so I have one error that I just want to question, and then I'm trying to work everything. What should I do as far as steps? I know I've been following along with everything, you know, watching the videos, and I need to go into the back end. I mean, I need to set up the stuff on the back end with like the certificates and all the stuff that
got all, but don't you have all that stuff done? Like we had your stuff working yesterday.
This is for my portfolio.
Oh, the stuff we were working on yesterday was
that was the capstone.
Yes. So, okay.
I just got one error that I want to ask you about right now, and I'm working and listening. So let me see. Share my screen. Share my screen. Where's the button? How do I share my screen? I can't see.
It's a green, like it's a little green square at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
I found it. My vision is blurry. Okay, so this right here, I don't understand, and it's saying expected, but this is, so I'm modeling after.
All right, let me stop you for a second, Christy. Anybody else able to see the error?
Missing a comma.
Missing a comma. Where?
Oh God, that is so easy.
Nice.
You're like, why? Okay.
Nice.
That was my main question. And then so I have the back end all set up, and now I'm about to go work on the front end. So I'm just gonna listen. And then once I get the front end, I just need to know, I guess, like slides or steps, but I know I kind of know the gist of it, but that's why I wanted to say that's why I'm here. So,
Okay, yeah, well, I'd say, if you're gonna do the whole thing through AWS, you'll need the fundamentals. You'll need S3 bucket, CloudFront. Once you have those two things, you'll need to request the SSL certificates so that whatever domain you're using for your portfolio, you prove that you have ownership of that. So that's going to be the first part of the slides. And then after you get done with that, the third part in the slides is Elastic Beanstalk, and that's setting up the back end. So
yeah, so this, I've already done this part.
mhm.
So this is
So
already.
you're ready to move on. Let me see where in the slides we start talking about CloudFront. CloudFront starts around slide 49.
Mhm. And I remember
Um,
what to do, but I'm not watching the video. So it's different when you're watching the video and going step by step. So
Right. Well, honestly, I just try to structure those slides to read chronologically in the series of steps that you should be performing. So you're at the point where if you have things uploaded to S3, this looks like it's publicly accessible, all that stuff is done. Just move on to setting up CloudFront.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else before I jump into showing you how to do all the deploys extremely easily? Jen, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, inquired about my beekeeper earlier.
Yeah, do you have a connection to your AWS database in there, or is it just your local?
Not really sure how to tell that, so I want to share my screen and ask for some help there. So where do
Yeah.
I look?
So close out of this window, like close this beekeeper window. And then open beekeeper again. So notice how you have two connections. You have a local DB connection and a local host. They're both local hosts. So that means that they're connections to these are both connections to the database on your computer.
I need a new connection.
Right. We want to set up a connection to your RDS database because you really are managing two databases. You're managing the one on your computer and the one for your deployed capstone. But before we could get into actually building the connection, we had to do the same thing we did with Brian, where we opened up a pinhole in the firewall. So you're able to reach out to the Postgres database. By default, those databases on AWS are completely closed off. The only thing that can talk to them is your backend app. So we have to go and open up a hole for you to be able to reach it. To do that, show me a window that has AWS, like Elastic Beanstalk or CloudFront or something like that. And then can I take control to run through those steps?
Sure.
Okay. Over here on the configuration page where you originally set up the database, I'm just going to go down to the bottom and navigate to your database. And then I'm going to do the same thing I did with Brian, where we go over to your database, to the security group. This is the you can think of this as kind of the firewall for your database. We're going to add an inbound rule that lets you accept traffic on port 5432. And the traffic source is going to be from your computer. Okay, so now we should be able to reach that from your computer. All right, here's the endpoint we need. Go back to Beekeeper. We're going to make a new Postgres connection. And the host is that endpoint. I'm going to turn on SSL. And then we need a ucall the main user main BDB. Do you remember the password you set when you created the database?
It's upstairs.
Physically
Um,
upstairs or mentally upstairs?
It's physically upstairs.
Okay.
I could go get it if you want to pause and talk to somebody else.
Oh, is your house like huge?
Yeah, too big for two people for sure.
We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Okay, so I'm gonna smooth
Okay.
you so you don't hear me huffing and puffing up the stairs.
Okay.
Where are you?
Actually, I kind of want you to not mute. I sort of want you to narrate to us as
Oh, goodness gracious.
go on
Now
this
I'm
adventure.
if I had a little camera, I could bring you. You might want to mute me. I can't. Apparently find it.
I am intrigued. I ain't muting this at all.
Nate, have you done any fun new independent projects of your own? Not really.
Fun. I'm trying to get my private pilot's license. So
Nice. Not for drone, you mean like actually piloting?
Yeah, for flying
Nice.
little airplanes. I haven't been doing much computer stuff.
Oh, okay. That's good. You gotta have a life outside of
Yeah,
piloting.
yeah.
It sounds like she's
What about
coming.
what about you, Latonia? Have you been doing anything cool?
Well, I just started on this project with another program I was in. And I was just told I'm their very first apprentice in the formalized dev shop that they've created, which is like awesome. So that's really fun. I think I'm really starting to love social justice projects.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm really leaning towards doing a lot of that in addition to like independent stuff. She's back. Oh, shut up.
Well, Latonia, are you still doing the React JavaScript stack?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was working on, I have this project called Epic APIs. This thing is so massive. Max has been like my point mentor on it. And we're finally going to deploy next weekend. So
congrats.
yeah, so it's pretty awesome. This week, I think we might be pulling in some AWS, but he's going to show me the old school way because Heroku has been charging me a ton of money. I transitioned all my stuff over and it's been costing me a ton of money. So he's going to show me how to do it like the super, super cheap way. But I think it's going to be very similar to what you showed us this week.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, AWS has so many products that like I will be surprised if you actually land on Elastic Beanstalk because there's like any number of but that sounds really cool. I'm excited for you.
All right, so what do I do? Because what I'm typing in does not like me. Well, what I'm typing in is wrong.
I wonder if did you generate a password in the browser when you were making this? Is it possible it's saved in the browser somewhere?
Yes.
So I'm gonna stop sharing. You can dig that out. Yeah.
So how do I access a password?
Yeah, let me open up. First I have to download Chrome. You're using Chrome, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So I think that you click on the little settings bar deal up on the top left, and then there should be like a password manager under like tools, maybe. I'll know here in a sec.
Still learning about this Mac.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
Yeah, I like so many of its features better than a Windows operating system, but
There we go. So from Google Chrome, click on the little buttons, okay, and then go to, let's see, settings. Are you in settings?
I'm in settings. I'm in the passwords.
You're in the password manager?
And let's see. What is this again? Beekeeper.
Yeah, okay, do you see the saved passwords there?
I
The
do,
list of
but
all-
not for Beekeeper.
You won't see for Beekeeper though. Remember, we created that password when we were in AWS. So look for any passwords that have username, main.
See, I'm just seeing things per app.
Okay, I'm signing in so I can use something similar. Let's see.
I've got my screen share on.
You do.
So, I mean,
Oh, this is not what we're, okay.
It's not what I'm
Scroll up to the
supposed to do.
top. Is there an AWS in here? No, scroll down to the bottom. No, okay. So this is the password manager for your Mac. So close out of this.
oh, I
Stop
should go
sharing
to
your
the
screen.
window. Stop sharing.
Stop sharing, yes.
I should actually go to the window and go into my Google is what I think
Yeah.
you
Go into
meant for me
Google
to do.
Chrome
Settings,
settings, right?
privacy and security. Would that be right?
It is under in the top search bar, just search for password manager. Do you see password manager?
Almost. In the top search bar.
Yeah, where it says search settings.
Not the one I expected. Sorry, hold on. Okay. Got 2 results.
Do you have some saved passwords in there?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, no big deal. We'll just reset the password.
Oh.
So
Oh, I was in the wrong place. Yes. Yes, I've got it. So I
Okay.
need to just copy password. There we go. Okay, so I want to click into this password to paste it, but it's not letting me paste it. I will do this. I just don't know how to put it in.
do you have passwords on your clipboard?
I do, but for some odd reason, let me see here.
That's what you want. So then you open Beekeeper and
Okay.
paste the password. Yeah.
Okay. I did it with
Does
half
it
a cup of
connect?
coffee. I did it. Yeah.
Okay. Can you share? Okay, you're connected. Very nice. All right. Let me take over control one more time. Cool. See you later, Brian. All right.
Bye.
Yeah, so now you have access to the same table that you have the access to the same tables as you do on your local. And whenever you want to switch, all you need to do is reopen Beekeeper, and you can pick between either of these two. So shoot, let's make sure we save this. So this is your AWS database.
And is that regardless? It's just always going to be AWS database, regardless of what website or application I'm working with within it.
Sorry, what's the question?
So this is specific to the capstone that we've worked on, or is this going to apply for every project I put on AWS?
Oh, yeah, it will only work for this capstone. This will only be the database that you use for Elastic Beanstalk. So you have two connections here. You can pick between your local Postgres and then the one out on AWS. And if you create an Elastic Beanstalk for every backend, you'll get a new database for each backend. So you'll have to run through these same settings for another application.
Okay, thank you.
All right, nice job. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We still have time to automate.
Let me check. Let's see. My wife is watching the kids, and she fortunately has been feeling really sick. So I'm just checking to make sure that she's doing okay.
Hey, Nate, if not, would you be able to do just like a quick tutorial on your own and post it? Like, how long is it? Because I'd like to see it too, even if you don't have a chance today, but no pressure.
Well, really, that's what I was going to do. Is I wasn't going to necessarily walk everyone through it, but instead I was going to kind of have a condensed
Got it. Yeah.
video that folks can refer to, because there's a couple of moving pieces here. I think I'm actually, unless I hear otherwise, I think I actually have time. Is that okay if I go through that? And then if folks want to set up this automation, they can refer to the slides in the video. That'd be great. All right. Let me show what I'm talking about. There is a section in the slides called automating deploys. And what makes this so cool is that if you recall, we actually used GitHub Pages before to do our deploys. GitHub Pages automatically runs on GitHub Actions. And when I say GitHub Actions, what I mean is let's look at an example. So here's one of my repos. Does anybody remember these green check marks up here on GitHub? You know, we would go in here and we would click on it when we were deploying with GitHub Pages. We would go on here and click on it and make sure that, you know, this green check mark was green. That's how we knew that the deploy went through. So what's cool about GitHub is you can actually customize what happens when you push code using GitHub Actions. And there's actually code that allows us to push to our S3 bucket and do the invalidation for CloudFront. And I'm just going to run through an example of doing this on a repo that doesn't have this. So, for example, if we go and look at, the blog backend. Might get tight. There we go. So if we go and look at the blog backend, let's actually make this a little simpler and do the front end first. So notice how I don't have any green check marks. That's because I'm not running any GitHub Actions. I'm also not running GitHub Pages. So this website doesn't have any of this cool automation set up. to get started with using GitHub Actions, there's a couple of pieces of magic that you have to go and look at the docs and read up on to know about. But the first biggest piece of magic is that to run custom actions, to run GitHub Actions on a repo and to do this cool automation, you have to make a special file in a special place in your repo. So for my blog front end, because this is in GitHub, I'm going to go and open up GitHub Desktop. I'm going to switch to the blog front end. I got some changes here. I'm just going to discard all of them. I don't care about them. Okay. So you have to make a special file in a special location so GitHub knows to run the automation that you're building, and that special location is from the root of your project. You create a folder. Keeps wanting me to do it there. So create a new folder at the top, and the special folder is called .github /workflows. So if you don't have a special folder at the top of your repo named exactly this, then GitHub won't know where to look for those files to run the automation. And that's in the slides. So back here, this is the special folder that you have to have at the top of your repo. And then inside of that folder, you can put any number of what are called YAML files. And you're probably used to things like JSON files, where JSON is kind of the encoding for what should be in the file. Same thing for JavaScript.js. We expect when we open a .js, we're going to see JavaScript code. We open .html, we're same sort of thing. YAML looks like this. It's a little funky, and you may have not seen YAML before. Go back. But that's what this funky looking syntax is here. It's YAML syntax. But either way, we make this special folder, and then we can put any number of these .yaml files in it. And then for each .yaml file you put in here, GitHub Actions will run whatever is in that YAML file. So I'm just going to create one called push.yaml. You can call it whatever you want, so long as it's sitting inside of this special location .github workflows. I'm going to make one called push.yaml because that's what I want this to do. Is I want this to push my code. Okay, so and then I'm going to take all this code that's here in the slide and I'm going to shove it in there. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, but the gist of it is that we're creating an action that does a build and deploy. It's always going to do it whenever we push code to main, which remember that main is the default branch when you set up a Git repository. And then here under the jobs, these are the different steps that are going to run whenever we push code to main. I'm not going to go through each one, but suffice to say that the interesting stuff happens closer down here, where what this code automates for us is it actually automates pushing our code up to S3. So remember how in class we were having to run npm build, drag it over to S3 and do all of that nonsense? Well, with just these, 15 lines of code, that does all that, automates all of that for us. So this line right here is actually, 18 lines of code. This line here is doing the npm run build for us. This is bundling it up into an artifact, and then this is pushing it up to S3. With an extra couple of lines of code, this is automating the CloudFront invalidation. Recall when we made that CloudFront invalidation, remember how we always typed in that /*? Well, that's what this is doing. It's just doing it through code, so we don't have to go in and manually press all of these buttons. I had to take time to go and read docs and tutorials on how to combine all of this stuff together. So it looks like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. And to me, it also looks a little bit like mumbo jumbo. And I honestly can't tell you what everything is doing here. I know what most of it's doing, but like I can't tell you what everything is doing here. And that's kind of the magic of GitHub Actions, is that you kind of have to go and do some research. You get one of these YAML files together, and then you just use it. You really don't come back in here and tweak with it. You just need to get it working one time, and then you just sort of leave it alone and let it run. But there are a couple of things we need in order to get this to run. So like right now, if I save and I push this, which I'm going to do. So I'll go back to GitHub Desktop. Notice how GitHub Desktop has picked up on the fact that I have this file here. I'm going to go ahead and push that to main. So creating an action to upload files automatically. Commit and push. Now that alone should be enough to trigger one of those runs. So wait a second here. Because we just created an action, this should start. We should see something show up here. Nothing is showing up. Okay, we're going to go look at the actions tab. This is where all of the different actions for our, we can see right here that there's actually an error, and it's probably because the syntax is invalid. Let's see. I have an error in my syntax on line 10. It's upset about the spacing. Let me go back to VS Code. It is upset because all of this needs to be indented one level. Okay, let's push this again. Fix indentation. Kind of like Python in that the indentation really matters for these files. Okay, let's go back. Also, this is a failure on my part because these slides, it's really hard to copy and paste code from. That really should be like a GitHub link instead of trying to paste that through. Okay, so I'm going to go back to here. Notice how I now have a little yellow deal there. So that means that my code is actually running. That big YAML file that I pushed is actually doing something. So I'm going to click on details, and you'll see we're actually down to this S3 sync action. So that means in here we are all the way down here. So we're running this section of code right here where we sync our files up to S3. This is doing all of that work that I would have to be doing, uploading, deleting, running CloudFront. It's doing all of that for me. It's doing that npm run build that we would normally have to do in our machines and create that build folder. I don't have to worry about that now. All right, now it's uploading all of this to S3. Okay, we got an error. The error says AWS S3 bucket is not set to quitting. So take a look at this code. Notice how there's a bunch of these secrets here. Secrets AWS S3, AWS access key, all of these things. So notice how we got an error here on this S3 bucket. The reason why is because this code, this GitHub action, it needs to know a little bit about our S3 in order for it to have permissions to reach out and do things on our behalf. So it needs to know, like, what is the bucket name? What is the access key? Like, what are the credentials to be able to log in from GitHub? Because remember, GitHub is doing all this for us. It needs to know how to log in, and it needs to know what the bucket is. It also needs to know what is the distribution ID, like, because we may have many buckets, we may have many CloudFront distributions. What are the right ones in order to upload things to and to invalidate? So it's not enough that we have this code here. We also need to add in some of these secrets. And the reason why you see this kind of weird syntax, like what we could do is we could come in here and say, it's my cap back end, and then we could change this and we could type in our access key ID. But the problem is if this repo was public, anybody could see this. And then they would know what our bucket is, what our CloudFront ID is, they would know what our access keys are. That would be a big problem for us because that's a huge security leak. And people can get into our accounts and do things. So what we're doing is we're creating these secrets, and the place to go and set these secrets are in your repo. Only you have access to this location because you control the repo. Under the settings, there is a secret section, a secrets and variables section here. And you can create secrets that aren't visible to people, but are accessible by GitHub when you run those GitHub actions. So we need to create, let's see, we need to create let me go back. We need to create a total of 4 secrets. We need to create a CloudFront distribution secret, a bucket secret, and then some keys. So I'll show you how to find the values for each of these. So the first secret we're going to create is the easiest one. It's the S3. So to do that, we create a new repository secret. So we're going to create the secret for AWS S3 bucket. What is that? Well, it's just the name of the, after I log in, it is just the name of our S3 bucket. So if I go into S3 and look at my buckets, I'm going to grab Capstone, Nathan Evans. There we go. That's the first secret. We're telling GitHub where to go and what to find. So there's the first secret we have to provide it with. Let's do the CloudFront distribution one. That one is also pretty easy. We just go to CloudFront. We find whichever one of these is our CloudFront distribution, and we take the ID, so this right here, and we shove it in there. All right, so that's 2 of the secrets that we need. The 2 most important secrets, though, is we need some way for GitHub to be able to log into our AWS account and upload the S3 files, hit the CloudFront distribution. These 2, the access key and the secret access key, you actually learned a little bit about this at the beginning of class. Remember, I asked everybody to generate a Nathan user and send me keys so I could log in. It's the same thing. So you could actually use the same access key and secret access key that you gave me. You could use those same values and give those to GitHub. But probably the best way of doing this is to go into IAM like we did at the beginning of class. Go into IAM and create a brand new user. So I'm going to create a user specifically for GitHub. So I'm going to just call it GitHub. I'm going to give it the permissions to be able to do things in S3 and permissions to do things in CloudFront. Now I can give it the full administrator access policy, which means it have access to everything. But that's not really needed here because GitHub just needs access to S3. So I'll search for S3. Here's an S3 full access. I'll give it that. And then I'm going to search for CloudFront. And here's a CloudFront full access. I'm going to give it permission to those two things. All
And
right,
is
so
something happening? My screen is stuck. It could just be my internet. Are you doing something right now?
I am. I'm creating a user. Can you see? Is anybody else able to see me move around? Okay.
Yeah, they're shaking their head, so it must be my internet. Sorry.
No worries. All right. So I've got a user here with S3 and CloudFront access. I'm just going to create that user. Here's my GitHub user. clicking on the security credentials so I can go and get some access keys, going down to create access keys. Same thing we did in class. I'm going to give it CLI keys, create access keys. Cool. Now I have an access key and a secret access key. And I'll make sure to delete these later. So I'm not worried about these showing up in the recording. All right, so I have the access key. So now I'm going to go back over to GitHub. I'm going to create that repository secret. The name of this is the AWS access key ID. I'm going to paste in the access key. Do the same thing for the secret key. No. There we go. Now I have 4 repository secrets set up on my blog front end. So any GitHub actions that run have access to these 4 secret values. They're not committed in my code, so nobody that comes and visits my repository will be able to see them. They're stored here in the settings page under my control. So I can now use these in GitHub Actions without worrying about them getting leaked or exposed. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the front, and when we see the red X because it didn't have access to the AWS S3 bucket, I'm just going to rerun this.
Nate, can I ask you a question or two while that's running?
Absolutely.
If we have time. So say like with the secret keys, what if you put quotes in because you're used to being in a different platform? Is that gonna not work, or will it give you like a helpful, go ahead.
It will not, no.
Okay.
It will, you'll run into, it depends on what happens. Like, let's say you quoted one of the access strings or access keys. What you'll probably get is not a helpful message, but what you'll get is something saying like, I can't log in because the security credentials are invalid.
Okay.
Which will then make you think, okay, is it because I quoted it, or is it because I copy pasted something wrong?
Okay.
So no, you will not get a helpful error. You'll get generic unhelpful error probably.
Okay. And then for main, sometimes when you create a new one, you will get master. I guess it depends on how you set it up. Do you recommend people just changing that in their YAML file, or do you recommend just making sure you always use main? If you have a master, change it to main.
I think honestly, changing master to main is probably the better way to go.
Okay.
But if that's impractical,
No, it's
then
fine.
yeah.
I do it all the time. It's easy to do. I just sometimes people may not be able to, so I wasn't sure. And my last question is, when you go in and you set the access, what if somebody wanted to be efficient and just give it access to everything? Do you consider that like a security thing, and you really should just give it what it needs?
Yeah, exactly. Like even what I've given it so far, I would say is a security risk, because full access to S3, like GitHub doesn't need full access. Like GitHub just needs the ability to upload files. And AWS lets you scope things down even further from full access. Like if we looked at permissions here, there is a ton of S3 access. Like for example, S3 read-only access. Let's see, read-only access. Maybe there aren't as many policies as I'm thinking, but I would say don't just do administrator, because the risk here is, yeah, somebody gets access to the keys, and because you gave them full administrator, they have access to IAM, and if they have access to IAM, they can add themselves a new account and get in that way, or with full access, they can spin up EC2 instances, which means they could do like Bitcoin mining or GPU mining or something. So resist the temptation if you can to give it admin access. Full admin access. Great questions. Okay, this is all green. So everything passed here, which means that the code that I uploaded here in the front end, and I'll prove this just so folks know that I'm not actually lying. So if I go to cohort3.com, says Nathan's Awesome blog at the top right. I'll go into VS Code and I'll make a change to, let's say, home.js. Nathan's Awesome blog. I'm going to change this to Nathan's Automated blog. All right, GitHub desktop picked up a change. Cool. Change the home to automated. Commit, push. Now, if I've done everything right, I don't need to go to S3. I don't need to upload. I don't need to run npm run build. I don't need to do any of that stuff. I don't need to go to CloudFront. I don't need to recreate invalidations and all that. I should be done. And it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen instantaneously, because if I go to blog front end, notice how we still have the yellow, it's still building. It's still going to take the computer time to run all this stuff, but at least I don't have to go in and do these things anymore. And I really, really wish that I had gotten to this point with class, because I didn't intend for everyone to have to do those, to keep doing those manual steps. This is where I was hoping for us to get to.
I think you're doing it this way was really good, because it, like 5 minutes, 5 or 7 minutes, like it's pretty straightforward. So they'll be able to reference this video.
Cool. Yeah, I hope so.
Can I ask you a very quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
On slide 68, where it says go to configuration, when you get into configuration and we get into the different options,
Mhm.
in order to put that 443 in information in, which one was it? It's not instances, so is it load balancer?
Yeah, sorry, you're looking at the old console, so it probably says something different. It's exactly the load balancer.
Okay. Okay. I'm on
All
my
right.
way.
Yeah, great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So everything's green here. If I'm not lying, I should be able to refresh this. Sure enough, Nathan's automated blog. So I didn't need to touch any of that stuff. It just is handled automatically for me. So it's a little complex, because you have to go and create the secrets. You have to go create the permissions for a user, get the access keys, get create the GitHub workflows folder, put a push.yaml in there, paste all the stuff. Like, there is a little bit of work to get this set up, but you immediately start reaping the benefits of it, because you're no longer having to go in and punch those knobs and do all those things. It's the same thing for the back end. So we would, if we wanted to do the same thing for Beanstalk, it's very, very similar, where we would go to our backend repo, we would create another push.yaml, and then here is a, sorry, that's the other one. The Beanstalk one is a little bit simpler, because all we need to do is create a zip and upload it. We don't have to deal with two AWS products. But all we have to do is create a push.yaml in our backend repo, paste this, and then here's what the code looks like. We would make a zip in GitHub Actions, and then we would upload all that stuff to Elastic Beanstalk. We need slightly different variables, right? Because we're not using S3 buckets, we're not using CloudFront. So we need to create some similar variables, like the access key and the secret access key. But there are some new ones, like the AWS application name and environment name. Those are both things that you can get from Elastic Beanstalk, and I'm not going to go through those, but they're here in the slide. So there's a total of 4 credentials you would need for the back end to do these same similar steps.
Hey, Nate, real
That-
quick. I'm
Yep.
sorry. How do you know if your indentation is on? What message did you get? What error message did you get for your YAML file?
Yeah, so if you upload that GitHub workflows folder, if you upload this folder, you upload a push.yaml or a something.yaml, and you don't see a little message, a little indicator pop up over here, then that means that the file is bad, the indentation or something is wrong with it. And you can go to this actions tab here. And that's where I went to see that the first one was actually just crashing. Like it wasn't even able to spin up a job to run. So that's where I clicked into. And it showed me, yeah, here's an error. You have an error in your YAML syntax and it was an indentation issue. Cool. So that is all I really have for office hours. I'm gonna try to post a link to just that section in class later, or sorry, in Slack later for other folks that want to set that up. But hopefully you've got some way of uploading stuff, Alba, that works for you. And if you want to use this way, you totally can. Also, it's kind of late in the game, so maybe you can stick with what works for you. It's entirely up to you.
I kind of know the processes. I might do it later on because I might have to add an admin as myself for when they want to put a new pantry in, just so I make sure that they're not putting invalid information in there. So I'm gonna have to actually add an admin page so everything will go to me before it gets added into the system. So I might have to add it later on in the future, but I made a mistake when I was doing my portfolio and I nuked everything out, so I'm creating it again.
Oh, rough. That is rough. Okay. Well, with that, I think we can call it unless anybody has something.
I have one more road question, but I want to Slack you or email you. Do you have a preference? Which one?
Slack. I'll probably get to quicker, but either one works.
All right, great week. Thanks for having me on as your TA.
Latonia, please tell me you're gonna TA for me again.
Well, this whole cohort is done. Oh, so I signed up for every single deploy session for the next cohort because I broke it up.
Every one of mine.
I think if you're doing deploy, no, I'm saying deploy, DevOps. I signed up for all the DevOps and database. So I will be seeing you.
Okay, thank you. I love having, I first of all love having you to TA, but I also love having the same person because it feels like we get better each time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, cool.
Cool.
All right, everyone have a safe, warm weekend.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, totally.
I just wanted to share my screen real quick and just ask you, have I set up a certificate here? I feel like I didn't. See right here?
Yes. Yes. You've set up the CloudFront. Now we need a certificate to go along with our CloudFront. So if you go to under settings and hit edit, that is, yep, exactly. And then scroll down, click that request a certificate. What certificate are you, what domain are you planning to use?
This is for the domain?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Oh, this is
Like,
the one that has the Google domains. Doug is gonna help me with what you already showed him. So I just needed to.
Well, then we're kind of stuck here because that's where you're going to need to prove that you own this domain, and it's kind of hard to do with Google domains. You have to
But I already I already did this. So I just need to, so when I work with Doug and I set all this up, then I'll be fine.
Yes, that's the next step, is setting this up.
Okay. So I'm kind of stuck until I do that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We're supposed to get together tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also if you want, I should be around tomorrow. So at least ping me on Slack if you want when you guys are meeting. And if I'm around, I'll hop in.
Yeah, we're meeting at 5 with Larry.
Okay.
Doug, Larry are meeting at 5. So we're gonna get together, probably chit chat, but then I'll let them know that we could possibly ping you.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, see y'all later.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. Sharon.